news of birth is usually cause for celebration, but two babies in China were greeted with skepticism and controversy. The government pronounced them illegal. The world was shocked at their arrival. What was their fault? They were born with edited genes. Their DNA was altered by a scientist who now faces police action. And now it turns out another woman is pregnant with genetically modified babies in China. Here's the full story.
Chinese scientist He Jiankui shocked the world in November last year when he announced that he had successfully altered the genes of twin baby girls Lulu and Nana to prevent them from contracting HIV. He had created the world's first genetically edited babies.
But first we tried it.
Details of the experiment, which have not been independently verified, triggered an immediate backlash from the global scientific community. The Chinese government ordered a halt to his research work days after it was publicly announced. He was placed under the protection of Chinese authorities as well. Since then, he has been confined to an apartment in the city of Shenzhen, where his family is allowed to only visit him, and that too only in the daytime. And now, 2 months down the line, He Jiankui will be facing a Chinese police investigation. A probe by a provincial government in China has reported that Jiankui forged ethical review papers and deliberately evaded supervision. He Jiankui had told the Human Genome Forum in Hong Kong that there had been another potential pregnancy involving a second couple. Chinese authorities have now confirmed the existence of the second mother and that the woman was still pregnant. Reports say that she is now 12 to 14 weeks into her pregnancy. China's state news agency Xinhua has said that the expectant mother and the twin girls from the first gene-edited pregnancy will be put under medical observation. A team of investigators told Xinhua that the scientist was pursuing personal fame and used self-raised funds for the controversial experiment. They say that between March 2017 and November 2018, he forged ethical review papers and recruited 8 couples to participate in his experiment, which resulted in the 2 pregnancies. According to them, He Jiankui organized a project team that included foreign staff, which intentionally avoided surveillance. Chinese officials are also blaming Jiankui for using technology that was unsafe to perform human embryo gene editing. Keep in mind, such gene editing work is banned in most countries, including China. Bureau Report, World is One.
Meanwhile, no light at the end of the tunnel, or so the story reads. I'm talking about the ongoing U.S. government shutdown. The shutdown, the longest in American history, has now crossed a month in duration. Federal employees are working without pay. The government of America is in crisis. But President Donald Trump remains adamant. He wants a border wall.
Well, I did get to the point where should I go to physical therapy or pay a bill or purchase food? So I did slow down on the number of visits for physical therapy because I just couldn't afford to go.
It's terrible that the government is holding employees hostage, and it needs to end. It just needs to end. We're all suffering. Businesses are suffering. It has a trickle-down effect. So everything's very tight.
Can you live a month without getting money coming in the door? Probably not. It's terrible.
Existence is in crisis. There are bills to pay. For how long can you go on without your salary? These are some of the everyday questions that are being asked. And these voices are getting louder in Donald Trump's America. On the 11th of December, the US president said that he was proud to shut down the government over the border wall. The Congress doesn't want to allow the government the funds that the president is demanding for the wall. Democrats oppose the whole idea of a border wall with Mexico. The partial government shutdown came into effect on the 22nd of December, and since then, the threats from Trump have gotten more and more wild. Trump even toyed with the idea of declaring a national emergency. But emergency is what US citizens are going through now, an emergency of another kind. Half a percentage of the labor force is directly hurt. That's 800,000 federal employees. It may sound like a drop in the ocean, but it is not. The morale of over half of American consumers is hurt. Essential services have been hit. The aviation industry is in crisis. Some airport security checkpoints have been shut down. National parks do not have security guards. It's shutters down for museums as well. But for Trump, the shutdown still remains the crucial jigsaw in the puzzle to solve the issue of the border wall.
To physically secure our border, the plan includes $5.7 billion for a strategic deployment of physical barriers, or a wall. This is not a 2,000-mile concrete structure from sea to sea. These are steel barriers in high-priority locations. There are two more elements to my plan. Number one is 3 years of legislative relief for 700,000 DACA recipients brought here unlawfully by their parents at a young age many years ago. This extension will give them access to work permits, Social Security numbers, and protection from deportation, most importantly.
The president is okay with giving illegal migrants temporary relief to get his border wall. The federal employees and the average American citizen are his baits. What's funny is that this standoff has hurt the functioning of immigration courts. This even as more and more people queue up at the US-Mexico border. What's not funny is that the government is shut and there are no signs of it being reopened soon. Politics of the shutdown is taking a toll on the country. It has become a mudslinging match with Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump getting involved in dirty duels on social media. On the ground, though, the American economy is suffering. The shutdown has prevented access to economic data. How the US economy, and that includes agriculture, copes with the shutdown is anyone's guess.
Without having federal data from the USDA, it makes it really difficult to see where we are and how we can gauge the carryout, because normally we're watching shipments and where they're going, and all of that data is completely in the dark. So we're literally flying with blindfolders on.
And so it has carried on for a month. It's day 31 now, and the future looks bleak for the furloughed employees. It has become a study in contrast. People want normalcy to be restored. Democrats won't help. They have politics to play. And Trump won't bother. For the president, the suffering of US citizens and the economy is not bigger than the expensive border wall. Bureau Report, World is One.
From politics in the United States to that in India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi threw open the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas today. It's a day that celebrates the contribution of non-resident Indians to India's development. Prime Minister Modi's constituency of Varanasi is playing host to hundreds of NRIs this year. In his inaugural address, Prime Minister Modi hailed the contribution of the Indian community overseas. He said he considers them India's brand ambassadors, symbols of India's capacities and capabilities. He has also sent a message to his political rivals. He said the BJP-led government had changed the way the country was being governed in the last 4.5 years. Referring to Rajiv Gandhi, Prime Minister Modi said that a former Prime Minister of India once said that only 15% of the money sent from the centre reached the intended beneficiaries in villages. The Prime Minister says his government has plugged this leakage and loot.
देश पर जिस पार्टी ने शासन किया, उसने देश को जो व्यवस्था दी थी, उस सच्चाई को प्रधानमंत्री रहते हुए उन्होंने स्वीकार किया था। लेकिन अफसोस ये रहा कि बाद के अपने 10-15 साल के शासन में भी इस लूट को, इस लीकेज को बंद करने का प्रयास नहीं किया गया। हमने टेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल करके इस 85% की लूट को 100% खत्म कर दिया है।
Meanwhile, the Congress was firefighting a new crisis, another needless controversy, if you may. Former Law Minister Kapil Sibal landed himself and his party in trouble when he decided to attend a hackathon in London, an event that was meant to prove that electronic voting machines can be hacked. The BJP questioned the presence of the former UPA minister at the event.
किस हैसियत से कपिल सिब्बल वहां उपस्थित थे? मेरा स्पष्ट आरोप है कि कपिल सिब्बल पूरे मामले की कांग्रेस की तरफ से मॉनिटरिंग करने गए थे. Is the Congress sponsored event designed to defame the popular mandate of 2014? EVM आज से नहीं बहुत दिनों से काम कर रहा है. आपको भी मालूम है, अब लगभग 20 साल हो गए EVM को काम करते, कि कांग्रेस पार्टी 2019 के चुनाव में हारने का बहाना अभी से ढूंढ रही है.
Sibal defended his presence at the event. He said that he'd been invited by a friend. He also dragged in the media, passing the buck, saying it was the media's job to verify the claims made by the self-proclaimed American cyber expert.
It's now your job, not our job, to find out what the facts are, what the truth is, and if what he is saying, even if it is 50% true, it augurs very ill for democracy. And if what he is saying is not the truth, he must be dealt with. Now, these are, in fact, this sounds like a I don't know, a science fiction story to me, but a story that can be easily verified because of the facts and the details that the gentleman has given.
Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund has come out with a rather grim outlook for the year 2019. The IMF predicts a sharper slowdown in global growth. The biggest known risks are the ongoing US-China trade war and the possibility of a no-deal Brexit. Urging the global policymakers to brace for a serious slowdown, the IMF has cut its growth forecast for 2019 and 20. India, though, will buck the trend with 7.5% growth. The IMF cited a bigger-than-expected slowdown in the world's second-largest economy, China. It has also urged countries to resolve their trade disagreements.
The bottom line is that after 2 years of solid expansion, the world economy is growing more slowly than expected, and risks are rising. But even as the economy continues to move ahead, as I said, it is facing significantly higher risks, some of them actually related to policy. And these risks are increasingly intertwined.
Wion is in Davos, and we decided to speak to others on this forecast of the global economy. We spoke to Raghuram Rajan. Listen in to what the former governor of the RBI has to say.
I have no reason to differ from the IMF. There's broadly strength in the underlying economy, but there are some clouds. Certainly China's underperforming relative to the past, and in the US there are issues like the government shut down, so we have to wait and see.